Good morning. Welcome back to our Neutral Voices presents a financial pillar. I'm Ryan Leopard, and joining me on the set today, my man JJ Foster. How we doing, JJ?
Doing good. Good morning, Ryan. Good to
Good.
be here.
Good. Yeah, today's a beautiful day for a couple reasons. Number one, first day of school, so any parent out there can feel me on that one. It's always great to get them out. Stop getting those phone calls all day long. Dad, can I do this? Dad, can I do that? I don't know. But the other beautiful thing is Mark Ellington with DR Financial is back with us. Mark,
Well, it's
welcome.
good to be back. Almost had to reintroduce myself to both you guys. It's been so long.
Actually, you beat me to it because I was going to ask you for our newer listeners. It's been a while since you've been on the show. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Um, I'm a grandpa. I'm a pastor. Work for DR Financial we do financial strategies, work with small businesses in tax reduction, asset protection. So love what I do. I'm old, 70, so could retire, but love what I do. So I'm going to continue to do what I do.
Awesome. Well, it's good to have you back here, especially for today's topic, which I know is near and dear to your heart, which is investing,
Yes.
right? Right. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do with DR Financial, what a financial firm like DR does?
Well, we kind of like a home office in a certain respect. We have a tax firm. We do taxes. We do bookkeeping. We work with 80% of our business would be with small businesses. We do investing, um, safe investments. We help people um, with retirement plans, and estate planning.
Okay.
So we can really, for a lot of our small businesses, that's good. They can come to one place,
Mm-hmm.
get their taxes done for their businesses, personal, and put together, their legacy plan.
Gotcha. Very good. So, when we say investing, obviously there's different types of investing. What kind of investing do you help your clients with?
Well, normally it's going whether it's a business or an individual. If it's an individual, we're looking at, legacy giving or just, a simple IRA or how do I, put away for the future.
Mm-hmm.
And many times it's just getting started. I have a lot of people that come and they're just starting up their business, or they're just saying, "Hey, Mark, I've reached a point where I can now put some money aside. What do I do?" So we can, all kinds of things to people with, millions to people with just starting out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's different
Yeah.
spectrum.
Very good. So, if I'm somebody that's brand new to the game, don't know much about it, where would be a good starting point? What would you recommend to somebody like myself to start investing?
Well, first off, you got to decide, what's your motivation? Do you really want to start investing? I mean, because you got to be committed to it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked a lot about here on budgeting. First off, you got to what can I do on a regular basis? And that's what's important in investing. What can you do if you're starting out? What can I do regularly that I could do every month? And really, that's looking at what's my budget. And many times it's lowering your budget so that instead of spending that money, you're looking around. Okay, I want to get a house. I had a lady in the other day. I want to buy a house. Mark, what I do?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we looked at her budget and we reduced some things so that she could start putting away enough money to get a down payment for a house. So we were able to find several $100s a month that she knew she could regularly do. And so it's learning to live within your means, starting out, I think. But also, what's your goal? You're probably not going to stick with it unless you have a goal. She was passionate about getting a house. And so, why are you wanting to start investing? What is your goal that you're wanting that you're passionate enough to continue doing?
So come up with a goal of what it is that you want to accomplish, and then also a plan of, are you even in a position to be able to
Right.
to invest? And you need to come up with the plan, the goal, and then the budget as well to see if there's extra money to do
Right.
so, right?
Right. Because you got to pay your bills first.
Absolutely.
Investing comes in after
Mm-hmm.
you're taking care of everything else.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll just reach into it all the time, and it won't be something that'll last.
How do you handle people nowadays? There's a lot of information out there on the internet. I can Google everything that Ryan, excuse me, everything that Ryan just said. I've got my goal. I know my comfort level. You know, uh, top 5 reasons to invest and things of
Mhm.
that nature. There's a lot of do-it-yourself investing applications out there, and you see the commercials. We see them all the time. What do you tell people? Why would they need to come to DNR or be with investment advisor versus doing it themselves?
Well, I see a lot of people that choose to do that, and many times they say, "Oh, I can do that because it's cheaper. I'm not going to pay a commission. I'm going to do anything," and then they don't have a plan. First off, it's go with someone that'll help you set up a plan. We perish without a vision. So it's what is a vision? So if somebody's coming to me, why would they come to me? Well, first off, just about everything I do, I have a relationship. I walk into my bank personally. I want to know all the tellers. I want to, have relationship with them. So I would interview if I'm looking, if I'm starting to invest, I want to find somebody I can trust that has experience, so that I know I can go there and I'm going to get good advice. And you talk to people that have somebody that they trust. Who do you go to? I would like to, how do you like that person? Because the same thing I choose when I'm looking at a vendor. I want to get to know that person. I have a person that we work with to invest precious metals. I trust that guy. I've worked with him. I interviewed people that knew him before I went in there. So I chose him to refer my people to.
Very good. What when would you recommend to somebody, if they have $1,000 or they got $100,000, when they would seek out somebody like yourself, a professional, as opposed to maybe starting out, like JJ said, doing it their own on one of the apps, whether it's Robinhood or Charles Schwab or something like that? Is there a certain dollar amount that you would say over this, seek out some professional help if you want to play around with it, dabble around, look at something like that?
Well, rarely do I find somebody and I have some, that do it themselves online. They trade online or they're using Robinhood or, rarely do I see somebody that's successful doing it that way. There are some that are very successful. They've trained themselves, they've taught themselves. Now, most of the time you talk to them, they made a lot of mistakes getting there that might have been avoided had they worked with somebody. But you start out with something. I mean, $1,000, I'd probably, start at my bank. I'd start saving there, working with somebody at the local bank and helping me put a program together. If it's just a savings account where you're putting money in there and you're getting, okay, I'm going to put money in here, and then at the end of the year, decide whether I'm going to put it in a simple IRA or whatever. Start with something. Start with a plan. I have people that come in that have, like you said, $100,000 with no plan. And so we start to put that together and start to look at, starting diversifying. You don't just put it all in one place.
Gotcha. Now, what a good place I always recommend for people starting, especially younger individuals, is like an employee-sponsored retirement plan, like a 401k. Can you kind of talk with us a little bit about what a 401k is compared to a simple IRA, traditional IRA, that type stuff?
Well, normally a 401k is something at your place of business. And first off, when I go in, I find how much are they going to match? And so I'd take advantage of all that I could. If they're going to match up to 6%, then I'm going to put in the max because they're adding that to that's like free money they're putting in there. And so I'm going to decide I'm going to put enough out of my check, which is going to reduce your taxes because that's pre-tax dollars you're putting in there. Whatever they're going to match. Anybody comes into me, they got a 401k, the first thing we do is look at that and then say, match that. Put as much in as you can if they're going to match that.
So to clarify that, a match is if I contribute, let's say 5%, my employee might match 5%, or they might match a certain percentage of that, right?
Yes, and I find many people don't even understand that. I say, how much they match your 401k? I don't know, Mark. Well, I go to your HR and find out. Find out your plan. Know what you have at work. Many people come in, they don't understand what they got. Find out what you have And also, there's choices in your 401k. You have choices of how to invest. Many times I got people come in and we're looking at those. I'm helping them choose in there based on what they want to do. What are the options? Do they understand the options within their 401k? Okay, here's a conservative. This is going to be very, very risky. You know, what percentage you're going to put. So understand, educate yourself, or go to your HR person, understand the plan you have so you can take advantage of what's there.
Okay. And one of the confusions I usually see is people when we're talking in those investing terms is, well, I have a 401k or I have an IRA, but what is the difference between an actual IRA and a 401k?
Well, 401k normally is a business sponsored. If you have an IRA, that's normally something you're doing personally, a personal IRA. And you have to look, many times you can't do a personal IRA if you're doing a 401k.
Because there's contribution limits.
Contribution
right?
limits. So, but if you don't have that, then I would certainly look at doing a traditional IRA, doing the max you can. You and your wife both. If you don't have some kind of retirement plan, I would look at that.
So a 401k is an employee-sponsored retirement plan, right? Now, once you leave that employer, you have options with that 401k.
You can roll that. I have many people that change jobs. Hey, Mark, I got a 401k. We can roll that into any type of investment they want to from that, and then it's normally frozen. You're going to leave it there and start something else.
Is there a difference between the IRA and the Roth IRA?
Well, the Roth IRA, you're not going to get the tax deduction. You're going to put that in there, and it's going to grow tax-free. And as long as you leave it in there, what is it, 5 years, Ryan?
5 years.
Yeah. And you can pull it out. You're not going to have the, the penalties. But it's the Roth can be a very good option, but you're not reducing your salary. So if I make $20,000 and I put $5,000 IRA, then my tax base is going to be $15,000. Now, in a regular IRA, in a Roth, you're not going to get that tax reduction in your income. An IRA is basically before tax dollars. You're putting it in there, and you're not being taxed on it. Then when you reach 59 and a half, you can pull it out without a penalty, but you will be taxed based on whatever your basis is on the gain that's in there. You're not taxed again on the dollars you've already been taxed on.
Yeah, so a 401k, traditional IRA is
Roth.
pre-tax money, right? The government's always going to get their money, but your
Right.
money goes in without taxes coming out, and it can grow. That's the
Right.
idea of
Right.
it, right? There's more money in there to grow, but ultimately, when you go to take it out, Uncle Sam's going to get his cut of it.
And that's important to understand. If you're putting it in there, that's money that you better not be counting on getting, until 59 and a half. The penalties, because you'll pay the penalty, 10% penalty plus the taxes on it. So if you're going to do that, you want to decide this is long-term money for retirement.
And you can clarify something for me, because maybe I misheard you, but when you were talking about Roth IRA, I think you said take it out without penalty, right?
Well, you don't have the 10%. Yeah.
Well, don't you still have to wait till 59 and a half
Yeah,
to touch
59
it
and a half,
to
yeah.
avoid that 10% penalty?
Right.
You're just avoiding taxes, right?
Right.
As long as it's in there for
Yeah, I'm
5
sorry,
years, once you
yes.
start taking money out of there, it's just not taxed because it was after tax money. So it's kind of growing,
Right.
tax-free for that.
And also you got to look at people and say, I have some people that are not going to use the IRA. They're going to say, hey, I can take those dollars and invest it, and even after taxes, make more money with it. A lot of people that, they may say, hey, I'm going to, instead of putting that where it's tied up, I want to have money. I'm buying real estate, so I want to have money. So that's when I'm talking to people, I'm saying, okay, if you're going to invest, this money you're putting, you're not going to be able to use that. This is retirement money. You can't touch it. So you got to look and say, if I put it there, is the amount I'm saving in taxes more than I can make investing it someplace else long term and providing an income long term? I got many people in real estate. They're building up that income to come in. That's a retirement, is the income coming off of that.
So it's funny you talking about real estate. I know that's what a lot of people are getting into as a safe investment these
Yeah.
days.
Oh yeah.
And then I read somewhere where they talked about the fear shouldn't be with the stock market, but the fear should be falling short of your long term goal. But when I look at that though, aren't they tied together? Speak to that. I mean, if I've got money in mutual funds or some stocks, and the market is volatile or whatnot, isn't that going to affect my long term goal?
Yeah, it can. I mean, your market's going to go up and down, and that's why you're looking at diversification. I look at people and say, how much do you want at risk? Anything in the stock market's at risk. Then how much am I going to have safe? Maybe it's in bonds, maybe it's in annuities, safe investments. Even real estate isn't a safe investment. And so when I'm looking at somebody and we're looking at their portfolio, if you're younger, I'm going to say, well, you can stand to have more of a risky portfolio. You have a longer term. But if I'm 50, 60, I'm saying, hey, I want to keep this money safe. I can't afford to have the fluctuations. So you have to decide, and that's why you want somebody that you can talk to say, okay, what's safe? What can I put my money into that's safe, and what is risk? So I'm going to have, personally what I do, I have some in the market. I have some in safe, which it would be annuities, bonds, and then I have some in precious metals and some in real estate. So I'm diversified, depending on what the market does. I have different pots. It's not all in one pot. But just starting out, if I'm just starting out, I'm probably just going to work out with the bank to make sure, let's say your check's deposited. They could put so much in savings for you every month. But if you have money, you reach the point where you have money, a large amount of money, then you're looking at how do I diversify those dollars? And that's where it's really helpful to have somebody that understands it.
Now, take me back 30 years ago. What would you say to just what you said, a young investor coming to starting out versus somebody right now? I mean, I asked that because the market obviously was at a different place to where we're at right now, which, a lot of people are looking at the market and are kind of queasy and apprehensive on investing just off of what they hear in the media and looking at the market itself. What, can you speak to how it was, what you would say to what you're saying nowadays?
Well, to me, it was more predictable 30 years ago than it is today. And again, who knows what's going to happen? Whoever knows that doesn't need me, because. So again, that's where diversification. Looking at today, it is scary when you look at the market. You look at all that's taking place in our world. That is scary, and so you're saying, what am I doing? So again, it's diversifying. We're getting all kind of words that the market's going to crash, that the dollar's going away, all those kind of things. So
now, is that any different than 30 years ago?
Well, there's more talk of it that way, I think. And when I look around, it looks to me it's more likely. But 30 years ago, I don't really remember. Right?
Yeah. I'm going to venture to say, because I wasn't investing 30 years ago.
I was.
It probably, well, then maybe you can attest to this,
Yeah.
JJ. I'm going to venture to say, no, it wasn't any different because we're all the same. The time is the same. It's cyclical.
The reason I asked the question, because the market was booming, I thought I was going to be retired at 50. And the talk, now we're there's people talking. We haven't seen this, and so when you have prognosticators and things, it's like Mark said, it was predictable. Now you got people saying, I don't know. So that's why I asked my question.
But I think they've always said, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's a period
They can say,
of time
I don't
there where
know,
it's
but
going,
I'm telling you, it was flourishing.
The president's going to dictate how the market does, elections every year. My time of being
A 20-year-old JJ Foster invested, and like I said, I thought I was retired at 50.
Right.
If I'm 20 right now, I don't have that same thought. That's why I asked my question.
Yeah. But yet the market keeps going up and up and up, and it's at its highest level, right? I mean, that's the ultimate thought process you should have when investing. Is it's not for the next 5 or 10 years for you to retire. It's the overall long haul. That's what history has shown us with the stock market, right?
Right.
It's going to eventually go up. You're going to have bumps in the road along the way. But if you stick with it with a long-term plan, ultimately, and that's what your retirement is geared towards, then you're going to make money.
But it needs to be diversified.
Right.
If you
Yeah.
got, if you're all real estate or you're all something else, just what JJ's saying, who knows what could take place. You don't want to be caught with something out of the ordinary that happens and all your eggs are in one basket. That's why to be diversified gives you the best option of surviving and, prospering.
Yeah, I want to go back to one thing we were talking about, IRAs and 401ks, and when you leave your job, right? I think a lot of people out there, probably our listeners, they don't know what their options are when they leave a job, what they can do with that 401k. A lot of times, they're just leaving it with their current employer because that's all they know, right? There's also the option if you go with a new employer and they have a 401k plan, you can roll it over to your new employer. Or you can just take possession of that and roll it over into your own IRA, right? Do you want to speak to that a little bit, like pros and cons to those?
Yeah, we have lots of people that come in and say, "Hey, Mark, I'm going to retire in the next couple of years. What do I do?" And again, it's back to how many years, how old are you? So life expectancy, we're looking at that. What's your legacy? What do you want to leave for the kids? Do you want to leave anything for the kids? And so lots of options in rolling that 401k out. And again, diversifying that and getting a plan. Again, it's getting a plan. What's your plan in retirement? How much do you want to travel? Have you got yourself protected from nursing home spin down? So there's a lot of planning that goes in. Do you have you set up a will, a trust? Do you have those documents set up so that what you worked a lifetime for is going to go where you want it to go?
Yeah. So let's think of it in terms of I just left my job for another job, right? Not retirement wise,
Right.
but I just left my job. And should I roll it to my new employer? Should I put it into an IRA? What do you see pros or cons to either one?
Well, I think you got to look at your new employer. What kind of plan do they have? And you're looking at all that and saying, what's the best benefit for me to reach my goals? It all boils down to what are your goals. If you think you can take that money and put it somewhere else and do better than you can with your employer, and you're going to have more flexibility, then that's what I'm going to look at.
So the more flexibility, I think that's where I was going with that is when you go to another employer, right? They're not matching what you're rolling over from there. They're only going to match what you start with them on, right? New contributions to that. So I'm assuming you would probably always advise, yes, start another 401k with your new employer, especially if they're matching that. But with your current 401k that you're now able to take possession of, you're probably better off taking that, putting it into an IRA, right? And having it either manage yourself or having somebody, a professional, manage it for you because you have more options with that, right? A 401k employee sponsored plan is not just an open-end investment, right? You are limited to just the programs and options that they have, which typically 5-6 options maybe they do. Some of them are riskier portfolio, middle, maybe conservative portfolio, but you're not able to invest in individual stocks if you want.
Right.
So I just feel that you have more flexibility when you take possession of that rather than keeping it with your current or rolling it to your new. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, I'd say almost always that would be the case, that you have more diversification and you get it directed at that point in time. So you have a wider spectrum of options to choose from, which I think is always better. Diversification is always the best place to go. And you're right, with the employer, and lots of times with your employer, there isn't any help in trying to figure out which of these investments, what's the track record. Many times there isn't that kind of advice you can get there, or someone who will spend the time with you at your work to help you determine what choices of those 4 or 5 or whatever they are the best for me based on my goals.
Yeah.
And you touched on this a couple of times, and I definitely appreciate you talked about people's goals of investing. Not everybody is getting an investment for the retirement.
Right.
Like you said, it could be the legacy of the kids. Could be for education.
Right.
And you hit on something because you mentioned earlier, somebody might just want to purchase a car or a house. And I don't think people look at it in those terms. They think of investment, oh, it's about what I'm doing for retirement. When it could be somebody, I do mortgages
Mhm.
that want to purchase a home and they don't think about maybe I need to reach out to a financial advisor to see, let's look at my finances and see where I can save to achieve that goal or that dream. So
Yeah, and I would always send someone that wants a house, go find out what you can do first. They come talk to you and determine what kind of house can I buy, or what do I have to do? What do I have to be able to purchase a home? That's where you go to experts. You go to people that can give you solid advice and say, okay, here's what JJ said. I got to come up with this much down payment. So, Mark, how do I arrive at this much down payment so I can get the house I want? But it's also, when you're investing, that diversification is, you also want that pot of money for emergencies. What's your emergency fund? So you need a roof or something comes up, you don't have to pull out of some of those longer term investments. So I always look at trying to have 30% liquid that you could pull onto and use for an emergency. You always want to have an emergency fund first. So the first thing you're saving for when you're starting out is that emergency fund, that you tap that first. Then after you have that emergency fund, which is maybe 3 to 6 months income, then you're investing for something else.
see, and that's great too. You touched on something that we talk about all the time on this show too, relationships.
Yeah.
And basically what I'm hearing you, like you said, is somebody that's working with you, you're in it with them. You're part of the team. What's in your best interest? How can we help you attain that goal? And that's something that, we definitely talk about on a regular in the show. So
And I think that's a great takeaway and a good transition into, investing is not just investing for retirement or in the stock market, right? There's different types of investing. So for the younger individuals out there that may be listening, is you think of quick cash, you want to put your money in the stock market because you might get that quick hit, but you also might lose it all, right? You need to have that plan. What's your goals? When do you have a home already? Do you want to buy a home? Do you have those reserves saved up? Are you starting a family? Do you want to start a family? All those things matter, because you never go into an investment, right, with a short-term outlook that I need to make this money within the next 2 years to be able to buy my house.
Right.
No, you want to save, like Mark said, you want to build up those reserves, and you can invest within the bank. Right. Essentially within a savings account, which traditionally don't pay a lot of interest, but it's safe and secure. It's your money. It's there. You're building up that money for a rainy day or to achieve your goals of a down payment on a house or whatever that may be. Nowadays, rates aren't too shabby on things like CDs.
Oh, yeah.
So 6-month CD, 9-month CD for somebody that's looking to buy a house in a year, you're not going to get rich off of it, but it's a place to save your money, put it, and you're making some interest to make some money while your money's sitting there. Right. And then once you got your life going, you got your goals, you're working, if you can contribute some money to your retirement plan, you have that. And as life starts flowing, you start having extra money, you got your goals achieved. Maybe that's a good time to start looking at actually investing more, right? To potentially build that wealth with a longer term outlook as well.
Well, it could be even a car. Let's say you've got a car, but in 5 or 6 years, I'm going to need another one. So put that money someplace where you have that. When it comes time to buy that car, you can either pay cash or put a great down payment on it. But again, I'm always looking at those interest rates. If I'm making, 7 to 8% of my investments, and when interest rates were really low, then I'm going to borrow the money. I'm not taking it out of an investment. I'm going to go borrow the money at 3% or whatever. So it's always looking at what is that money going to make you? Not always, and I believe in being out of debt, but I think there's some debt, if you can handle it and you have a better option, why take money that you've saved?
Doing what I do in private banking and dealing with wealthy people,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's one of the things their financial advisors advise them on all the time. That's where I get a lot of my business from, is referrals on that. They say, instead, hey, now we're in a different interest rate environment now than we were a few years ago. It's a little bit different. But, when rates are in 3%, financial advisor would say, don't use your money. Don't take it out of the market right now. Use that. I can make you X amount. It's no guarantees, but historically I can make you a higher percentage of that. Go borrow the bank's money and use theirs at 3%. I'm going to make you 8% or 10% over here. You're getting that spread, the difference.
Yeah.
Right?
And many times your investment is making a payment on the car.
Making a payment on it.
Yeah. So it's always looking And, getting somebody that thinks that way, that really helps you, like you're talking about, getting a good investment advisor that's saying, here's your options. That's why I tell people, I'm going to give you options. You're wearing a captain's hat. You have to make the decision. I've got people that say, I know, Mark, I shouldn't buy this car and pay cash, but I don't want any debt. So they'll pull the money out and pay cash for the car, even understanding that they're losing money because they don't want any debt. But I also see young people that, well, I don't want any debt, so they're taking money out because they've heard
Dave Ramsey. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and Dave Ramsey's got a niche.
Yeah, there's a niche, and there's a certain demographic that
Right.
it should apply to, but it's not
Not
it's
everybody.
not for everybody, right? If you can't control your spending habits,
Exactly.
cut up the credit cards, get rid of them. You don't want to be in debt. If that's
Right.
what it takes to get out of that. That's perfectly fine. But sticking to that, if you're fine with your finances, you can make the payments. Why not use a credit card and make extra points? It's a way to get money, right? So he has his niche there.
The other
Well-
downside of that too, for young people though that are paying stuff off like that, and then again, using me as an example, they come and they don't have any credit established. They done
Yeah.
paid everything off, and they're proud of that. So y'all don't have any debt because they paid everything off. You run the credit insufficient credit.
Exactly.
So
True. I had
Yeah.
somebody that was mid-50s come to me recently and wanted to get a loan. He's always paid cash for everything.
yeah,
Yep.
Unfortunately, now in his case, he had a credit card, so there was some
Right.
credit there. But had he not had that, no credit's almost as bad as bad credit, right? You can't get
Exactly.
the money when you need it for it. So, running out of time here today. Great conversation. But when we think of investing, we think of investing in the stock market, things like that. There's other ways to invest, whether it's CDs, savings accounts, real estate, things like that. But one of the other things that we don't think about a lot when we say investing is investing in yourself also, right? Whether it's education, attending seminars to find out things like that, finding a mentor, investing in your mental health, investing in your physical health. Investing in ourselves is very important as well because we are our own biggest asset, right? But one of the ways that we can invest in ourselves as well, JJ has some information on a financial literacy seminar that would be a great thing for you to attend to start investing in yourself. So tell us a little bit about that, JJ.
all righty. Yeah, we came together. We're going to do a 4-part series for an educational seminar for financial literacy. It's simply coined financial literacy, a mental state of mind. We're going to, again, a 4-part series. It'll be from 6 to 8 at the Fort Wayne Urban League. First series will be August 17th. So hope to see everybody there. Again, if you enjoy what you see on the show, we're going to get more of the same live and in person. So hope to see everybody there.
We hope to see you there and invest in yourself. Until then, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Thank you for joining us, JJ, Mark. Till then, our neutral voices. Peace.
Happy trails.